Have you ever had a nosy neighbor who just wouldn't quit meddling in your life, turning something as innocent as a stack of firewood into a full-blown war? That's the nightmare that ensnared Jake Harland in the picture-perfect suburb of Willow Grove, where lawns were mowed to military precision and every deviation from standards was a crime. But when HOA President Karen Whitlock crossed the line from complaints to outright theft, Jake, a clever carpenter with a knack for turning the tables, cooked up a prank so deviously perfect it left her fireplace a smoking ruin and her iron grip on the neighborhood shattered. This isn't just revenge. It's karma at its most flammable, a tale of petty theft, ingenious sabotage, and a community finally breaking free. If you're hooked already, smash that like button and comment. What's the sneakiest prank you've pulled on a busybody? Welcome to Karen Karma. We're entitled HOA Tyrants Get Burned. New here? Subscribe and hit the bell for more sizzling takedowns. I Karma for Karen, exposing the Karens one fiery story at a time. Let's stoke this tale from spark to inferno. Nestled in the heart of Willow Grove, where the autumn leaves painted the cul-de-sacs in shades of crimson and gold, the air carried the comforting scent of pine and distant wood smoke, a reminder of simpler times. For most residents, this suburban enclave was a sanctuary of enforced order. Hedges clipped to uniform heights, driveways free of oil stains, and not a single weed daring to sprout. But beneath the polished facade simmered tensions, fueled by Karen Whitlock, the HOA's self-appointed queen. With her perpetually pursed lips, impeccable blonde bob, and a clipboard she wielded like a scepter of judgment, Karen ruled with an iron fist wrapped in passive-aggressive notes. Her obsession? Anything that clashed with her vision of cookie-cutter perfection, from unapproved holiday lights to excessive bird feeders. Enter Jake Harland, a 34-year-old carpenter who'd called Willow Grove home for 3 years. A man of few words but many skills, Jake had poured his heart into transforming his modest 2-story house into a warm, inviting retreat. The backyard fire pit was his masterpiece, a stone-ringed haven where friends gathered on crisp evenings, sharing stories over crackling flames and toasted marshmallows. His firewood stack, neatly arranged by the garage and sourced from a trusted local lumberyard, wasn't just fuel. It was a badge of self-sufficiency, a nod to his roots in a rural town where hard work and resourcefulness were king. Jake loved the ritual, chopping, stacking, the earthy smell of oak and hickory that promised cozy nights ahead. But to Karen, it was an abomination, an eyesore that attracted pests and lowered property values, despite the HOA bylaws explicitly allowing neat firewood storage. The trouble brewed slowly at first. Over the past month, Karen had escalated her campaign. 3 warning notices slapped on Jake's doorstep, each more ridiculous than the last. Untidy exterior, the first griped. Potential fire hazard, the second warned. Non-compliance with aesthetic guidelines, the third threatened fines. Jake, ever the level-headed type, double-checked the rules. Yup, his stack was tidy, elevated on pallets to deter critters, and well within limits. He shrugged it off, assuming her bark was worse than her bite. Oh, how wrong he was. 2 weeks ago, under the cover of a moonless night, half his precious stack vanished. In its place, a smug note in Karen's unmistakable looping cursive, removed per HOA regulations, comply or face fines. Jake's blood boiled. This wasn't enforcement, it was theft, pure and simple. Fuming, he marched to her pristine colonial-style home, bylaws printout in hand. This is ridiculous, Karen. The rules allow it. She stood on her porch, arms crossed, waving him away like a bothersome fly. It's unsightly, Jake. Think of the neighborhood's image. Property values matter. Undeterred, Jake restocked his pile, even adding a weatherproof tarp for extra measure, turning it into a fortress of compliance. Peace seemed to settle like fresh fallen leaves. For about a week. But Karen's obsession festered, her allies in the book club whispering about that eyesore stack over wine and cheese. Then came the night that ignited everything. Under the harsh glow of Jake's motion sensor light, which flicked on like a spotlight on a stage, he spotted her. Karen, blonde bob bouncing in the shadows, loading his logs into her SUV with the stealth of a bungling burglar. Heart racing, Jake burst out, phone camera rolling. "Karen, what the hell are you doing?" She froze mid-heave, clutching a log like an improvised weapon, her face twisting into a mask of defiance. "This is for the good of the neighborhood!" she shrieked, before slamming her trunk and speeding off, tires screeching in the quiet night. Jake's hands shook as he reviewed the footage, clear evidence of her midnight raid. He uploaded it to the neighborhood Facebook group that very night, captioning it, "HOA President Caught Stealing Firewood. Thoughts?" The post exploded like dry tinder to a spark. Support poured in. "That's outright theft. We've put up with her nonsense too long." But Karen's cronies rallied, defending her as a protector of standards. And by morning, the post was gone. Deleted by Karen, the group's iron-fisted moderator. Jake stared at his screen, frustration boiling over. As a carpenter who'd spent years honing his craft, transforming raw wood into functional beauty, he refused to let this slide. Sipping his morning coffee in his workshop, surrounded by tools that whispered of problem-solving, his eyes landed on a can of expanding foam, the kind used for insulation, swelling into a hard, unyielding mass. A grin spread across his face. Inspiration had struck. A prank so clever, so fitting, it would turn Karen's theft against her in the most humiliating way possible. Jake dove into action with the precision of a master craftsman. He selected 10 prime logs from his stack, each about a foot long and 4 inches thick, the perfect size for her fireplace. In his workshop, the hum of his drill press filled the air as he bored a 2-inch hole into the center of each, drilling carefully to stop an inch from the bottom, creating hidden chambers like secret compartments in a treasure chest. Donning gloves and a mask against the chemical tang, he poured in the expanding foam, the yellow goo bubbling and swelling, filling every void before hardening into a lightweight, durable core. To conceal his handiwork, he sliced thin discs from a spare oak branch, their grain matching perfectly, and glued them over the holes with strong wood adhesive. The logs looked identical to the originals, bark rough and authentic, weight just a tad off, but who'd heft them during a quick grab? With a satisfied nod, Jake stacked them prominently at the top of his pile, like bait on a hook, glinting innocently in the afternoon sun. He didn't have to wait long for the fish to bite. The next evening, as dusk painted the cul-de-sac in soft oranges, Jake peered through his living room blinds, heart thumping with a mix of nerves and excitement. There she was, Karen's SUV creeping in like a shadow, parking 2 houses down to avoid suspicion. She slunk toward his garage, glancing around furtively like a villain in a bad spy movie, her heels clicking softly on the pavement. Jake's phone camera rolled silently as she snatched the top 10 logs, the rigged ones, tossing them into her trunk with hurried grunts before vanishing into the night. He replayed the footage, a wicked smile creeping across his face. Now the trap was sprung. Expanding foam, when heated in a fire, doesn't burn cleanly. It melts into a sticky, acrid mess, potentially clogging flues and filling rooms with noxious fumes. Not life-threatening if spotted early, but a royal pain. Costly sweeps, ruined evenings, and endless embarrassment. Oh, the anticipation. Imagine the look on her face when that firewood fights back. If you've ever fantasized about outsmarting a Karen, drop a like and comment, what's the most creative revenge you've seen or done? Keep watching because this prank's about to explode. The reckoning came quicker than a kindling flame. At 7 a.m. sharp, Jake's phone buzzed with a voicemail, Karen's voice a frantic cocktail of fury and panic. "You sabotaged me, my fireplace is ruined, you'll hear from my lawyer." Jake saved it, chuckling, pure gold, an admission of her theft. By noon, the neighborhood was ablaze with gossip. Karen's husband, Greg, the mild-mannered accountant who'd long suffered her reign, had frantically called a chimney sweep. The pro emerged, covered in goo, extracting a bizarre, foam-like sludge from their flue. The melted mess, stinking of chemicals and regret. Word spread like smoke signals. "Karen's chimney's clogged. Serves her right for stealing." Karen, cornered but combative, fired back with a vandalism complaint to the HOA board, accusing Jake of environmental hazards and malicious sabotage. The emergency meeting at the community center buzzed with tension. Residents packed in, whispering about her overreach. Jake arrived prepared like a general to battle. Bylaws folder, theft video, her incriminating voicemail, and receipts for the pilfered wood. As Karen ranted about the foam ruining her pristine hearth, Jake stayed cool, explaining, "I reinforced some logs for a carpentry project, stronger cores for durability. If someone took them without asking, well, that's theft, not my problem. He locked eyes with her. And I've got the video to prove it. The board, weary of her endless complaints and facing a room full of fed-up neighbors, dismissed her case outright. Ms. Whitlock, the vice president said sternly, consider this a warning against further unneighborly conduct. The cracks in Karen's empire widened into chasms. Emboldened by Jake's stand, residents aired long-buried grievances, Karen finding a family for a hazardous basketball hoop that promoted loitering, demanding a grieving widow repaint her mailbox during a brutal snowstorm because the shade was off-spec. A petition to oust her as president circulated like wildfire, gathering signatures faster than autumn leaves falling. Greg, humiliated by the chimney fiasco and endless mockery, packed a bag and crashed at his brother's, leaving Karen isolated in her once impregnable colonial fortress. Months later, as spring thawed the frost, change bloomed. Karen, her reputation in tatters, slapped a "for sale" sign on her lawn and fled the neighborhood, her SUV loaded with boxes instead of stolen logs. The buyers? A vibrant young couple who adored Jake's fire pit parties and even asked for tips on stacking firewood. The new HOA president, a laid-back retiree with a sense of humor, relaxed the draconian rules, turning Willow Grove from a sterile showcase into a true community where individuality thrived. Jake's firewood stack? It stood untouched, a monument to his victory. He built a small shed for it, painting it to blend seamlessly with his home, and on the door he carved a tiny log with a winking face, a cheeky emblem of the prank that toppled a tyrant. What a blaze of glory! If an HOA Karen ever swiped your stuff or overstepped, how would you strike back? Spill your wildest tales in the comments. Pettiest rule? Sneakiest revenge? Like if Jake's prank had you cackling, share with anyone battling a busybody, and subscribe for more scorching karma stories. Follow A Karma for Karen on all platforms. We're fanning the flames of justice everywhere. Until next time, remember, steal from the wrong craftsman, and karma will clog your world. Peace out.